is a Dyson DC40 Mk1. Quite an old Dyson, especially at the time of filming this in 2025, and personally you want to get one with a slider on the front because they're just a bit better and they're equally as worthless as these. This one, however, is loved by its owner and they would like me to service it and have a look at why the head does not spin on this machine. We have a few little side quests to do as well. This machine is suffering from a fair few of Dyson DC40 Mk1 issues, so I figured we'd do it together. Diagnose this machine, work out what its problems could possibly be, and hopefully cure them all. Let's have a look. Yes, hello, my vacuum cleaner and Dyson chums. How are you today? Yeah, this is pretty much what you would expect a well-used, ancient Dyson DC40 Mk1 to look like, even with the wand not properly clipped into the machine. So we may as well drop the cable and start there because yeah, I think it runs, but the brush roll doesn't turn. Let's have a look at the first potential problem, and no, the hose is not split, so that is good. We do not need to worry about that. There is a mild chip off this wand which really doesn't bother anyway, and I've got several spare ones, so that could work. And yeah, that clicks nicely into there. It is missing its little top cap, which they all do. You need to buy the whole top part to get that because it's very difficult to get in and out. So hey, we have fixed one thing already. Then we have this, which has duct tape around it and is just a little bit worn. I mean, that's been used on a couple of skirting boards, hasn't it, here and there. My goodness. If I got a better one, I might be nice and give it to them, but I don't know. I'm not sure at all. Let us, I don't know really. Let's turn it on first before we have a look at the cyclone because I don't want to get dust everywhere for no reason. I think that is going to be fine. I think we need to start looking at the mechanical problem. So with a Dyson, we need to test both of the motors, the suction motor and the brush roll motor. So we'll turn it on first. That's not awful. And there we go. This has been used for DIY. I know that because if we look inside of here, we can see it's not the worst I've ever seen, and it's actually a replacement filter, I think. Yeah, that's not genuine Dyson scripture. So somebody has tried to love it before, but yeah, the finishing plaster. We will just use their Dysons for cleaning up little messes. It doesn't matter how flipping small the mess is, the damage is already done. So yeah, not this machine's fault at all. Bless its little heart. What probably is its fault though is the floor head, which shouldn't spin. The floor head is dead, which is exactly what she said. So I just confirmed the diagnosis. Let's have a look at that. Now this is where I'm going to sidetrack a little bit. We're not going to do proper diagnosis here. What we're going to do is flip it over. I'm going to take off the red clip and take the head off and then show you that, well, the head's pretty scrap anyway. I flipped this over when they were here and showed them. Yeah, this bit here has just completely worn down. This then means, I mean, you can tell actually, because the front wheel's completely worn away there and then completely worn away there. I mean, I know everybody moans about Dysons being made of plastic and whatnot, but they're quite robust usually when they can hold themselves up off the floor. And these tiny wheels that would have cost fractions of pence to make are gone. And that's when it starts to wear down very, very quickly. If we open up this head, this generation that comes off, that's easy. You can then see that because it's dropped everything down a lot, it's then wearing away at the brush roll. It's quite bad in one place there. Yeah, so even if we might be able to think of why the motor went on there, it's probably not fixing anyway because the whole thing is scrap. That is why I went into the shed. And look, I have a DC40 head with a wheel and stuff. And if this random red Sharpie written by myself is to be believed, this did work when it was last tested. So what we can very quickly do is see, without having to measure the voltage coming out of the pins or anything boring like that, see if it's the motor in that head or the PCB in the machine. Oh dear. Ooh. That's a bit of a pain, isn't it? Because that means it's probably the PCB, although, yeah, the switch is clicking absolutely fine. That's a bit of a pain, isn't it? We are going to have to measure the voltage then, just to triple confirm, and I might even measure the switch as well, just so I can rule it out completely. And that's it. Well, maybe they do the PCB as well then, but either way, the head is still needed. But it does complicate the repair a little bit. Right, let's test it properly once before we just start stripping it down to see if it is the yoke cable or something. So machine reclined. I think that's the switch on because you can see it down a bit. Couldn't even have my probes in. That was stupid, but I think it's dead. There's nothing there at all. So yeah, we're going to have to go at least a layer or two deeper in this onion to figure out what the heck could be its problem. So let's take off the filter, which is on this side. Oh, come on. I imagine this is going to need a replacement as well. No, not too bad. This has had replacement filters. They might be savable. This one's not too bad. Oh, I'll put that there. Oh. And there's something sticky on there. And then we need to take off this part here. And take some needle nose pliers, give that a course turn and undo that. And then with the same pliers in the two little holes, the whole back part will turn the nut inside of there. And then we can take this entire wheel side off. And done. Wow. There's all the dust this machine has ever had. Right, then with the machine upright, don't worry too much about those two little washers, we can undo these 4 screws here, take off the suction base plate. Then how far do we go? It's those 3 screws there that we're going to want to take off, but just to test, we will take them off because the problem is when you start unaligning everything, you can't get to these that easily. And we're either about to find a broken wire or we're not. And I suppose either way, we're going to need to carry on. So there's 3 short torque screws there. It's the same for a 41 as well, if you were so inclined. Then there's these 2 longer screws on here. And this half moon clampy part comes off of there. We can take out our red hose and then undo these 2 screws at the front. Right. Now, this isn't going to come apart quite as easily as it might do for now, but this is why we took everything apart, because we're going to take all of this off, and aha! It is the easy fix, right? We have Dyson DC40 Loom breakage. Fantastic. So yeah, we are going to have to keep stripping this mildly apart. So with this off, we can slide this completely apart, and then we can at least pull this cable out and get to it a bit easier. before we route it back into place. See how it's clipped underneath that bracket there? It is reasonably easy to put it back together when you're doing it. There we go. And then we'll need to take this PCB cover off. We do also have, oh dear, a broken recline clamp thing. I don't know whether I broke that taking it off or if it broke itself. I think looking at the state of all this, it's been broken for quite a while. So let's go and see if I've got one of those and a loom in my part stash. Yeah, I've got both. I found a nice loom. We'll need these plastic brackets off of this one. And then in here is probably from the same DC40 that head came from. These are specific, I think, so be sure of what you are buying. We need this one for a DC40, and I'm actually going to fit it now because these are very difficult to pop in when the machine is together, but quite simple when it's apart, he says. Doing it at the wrong angle whilst trying to look at it. There we go. I'll put the spring underneath, and that will be that. We do need to carry on a mild strip down though. So there are some more screws holding the PCB cover onto the machine. The other one is all under there in the hole. Like so. There we go. And here is, check the machine is unplugged, our circuit board. Ignore that a little bit there. And luckily we don't need to go too far into here. We can pick out the bits of fluff. But we just want to unplug this connector, push this rubber grommet through here. Come on, release. Then annoyingly the connector has to go through sideways, which is great fun. And then you can get your old broken loom out. We require this part for our new loom, which, well, while we're here, we can literally thread straight back through. So yeah, we're trying to get it through that little square hole there, just down and plugged in to that PCB. That currently has a little bit of like a stick. This is a problem with this era machines. This is the exhaust air goes through here to cool the PCB. Problem is, when you abuse and mistreat your machine, that air is actually full of dust and plaster dust and just makes it really bad time for the circuitry. And again, I have known these blow. Looking at it, I think it's okay, but this is certainly something we're going to have to check when I get this grommet sat in the housing, which 3 edges are. If we can just get, there we go, that in there, then we can plug this plug, oh come on, into here. Come on. Now that that's plugged in, I think we could actually test it. I'm not going to test the original head, because all I have to do is plug that connector into there. As long as I don't touch anything and just turn the machine on, it should pass electricity. It was the loom. So that head, it runs, but again, it's not the head that the machine wants. If we put that one in, that runs as well. It only runs on one side, but I had sort of guessed that because it doesn't rotate the same as it should. But that's actually okay, because what we really want is the housing from this and the base plate, really. And then we should just make one good head out of 2. Once I confirmed with the owner, because all we've really done now is let me confirm that yes, we can fix it, and we can give it a nice service, and we can probably fix the head. But I then need to get her to agree to my bill. So I'm going to put this back together because I'm sure she's going to go for it. It's not going to be an outrageous bill. And if she doesn't, the machine is completely useless. And I'll come back when we're doing the head. Once you have the PCB cover back on, slide this bit on because you can't do it when you put the bottom bit on. And then, and I can show you here, I have, it's a horrible fiddly thing, this plastic bracket on. This turns the corner around the wire. It doesn't really clip itself together. I'm holding it together like that, so that is pretty much how it should go. And then it sits in there. If we manipulate, you've got to leave it there for now. It's clipped in there, but until you get this bottom piece in to be able to slot it down to there, it's a bit of a liability and will just flop around. So this is going to be tremendous fun. We now have to get this in, and yes, you have to align this clear cog with those cogs in there in order for the thing to recline well at all. It's, yeah, it is. It's not a great thing to show. Oh, I don't want to play that again. Oh, the springs just popped out of this as well. Yeah, it's not a great thing to show. So, yeah, good luck, really. But it does click together. Then, you trust me when I say that this is on. I don't want to poke it about too much. Oh. If I can keep this in, these wires run in a loop in and out of that void. Oh. There we go. So with that on there, like so, we can push the wires down through their little channel. This plug can sit down here as it should sit. And then eventually, and you should be very careful to not touch anything, you will have your spring sat in there, there, not poking out. This sitting completely flush in that gap there, like so. Then manipulate by pushing and pulling and twisting about. These two past here, and then put that down. There we go. You see where that has clicked into that place there. That has locked that in, and in theory shouldn't cause any more issues, at least not for a couple of months anyway. Then we need to get some screws in quickly before it all decides it doesn't want to stay together. And I always start with these bottom two here. We can get our clamp on this side back into place with its two screws. Then feed the hose end past the wheels and slot that into place, and then we can lock the whole machine upright and finally get back to these three screws here, which do not show if the machine is not sitting properly. So yeah, don't try and force it. You just, why are you coming undone? Don't try and force it. You've just done it wrong. Marvellous. Then I'm going to quickly airline this and the filter out. So you need to put this bit back on next. But on this side we are done, so we can pop the two washers back on. That's where they came from. Then we can get our wheel into place, do up this very strange fastener here, which again you can use either a screwdriver or some pliers to just tweak that up. Hasn't got to be very hard, just like that. Then you can line up your little cap like so and give it a little quarter turn, and that should hopefully be that wiring loom replaced. Let's get on with the floor heads. We have the okay from the customer. Very kind of me to offer nice used parts because it is eco-friendly, and yes, it is very eco-friendly and justifies my mild hoarding tendencies that we have these parts available. But annoyingly, because we are scrap to scrap, we are going to have to pinch parts from both, although we don't really want much from this. Would you come off? Uh-oh. I've got the ends off, trying to pull this through. Uh-oh. Oh, well, I'll take those out in a minute because I need to not, well, actually, we can break this housing. We need the cog from this because the cog from the other one isn't working. So, annoyingly, we have to strip it down, even though we wouldn't have done it if the other one worked. So, yeah, these brush rolls are scrap. I'm not keeping those, I'm afraid, to any of you watching, because they're just worn down. They're no good. This is the problem, you see. We're going to break this housing. Oh, why are you so stuck? Ah, there we go. Yeah, we can destroy this housing. It's not the housing that we want. Then we can undo all of the screws that you see here and the two in there. Take these off and we should be able to break it all apart. With all of that out of the way, we, almost. Oh, yes. Right, I've done it's been a little while since I've done one of these. There's a plug there. There we go. And this can come out. And I mean, let's play which one's in better physical condition. I do think this one is actually less like smashed up and beaten up than that one. So we might pop that aside for a second. Right, we need to go a little bit further. So this will take out, oh, I've got the wrong size bit in, but it's working fine. Take those out. We can take that plate out. This is part of the reason I think all these heads die. All this fluff just builds up all over the place and probably doesn't do it much good at all. We can pop this wiring clip out of the way enough, for me to get to the screws, and I have to go down a size again to get to these two top ones. One there, and this can, this housing will come apart like so. Here's where all your hair goes that you just can't get out, no matter how hard you clean it. And what we're gonna want, I think, is this piece here. This piece is what I think is broken on the other head. But we're gonna find that out pretty soon, because we'll strip this head down. I'm probably gonna, oh, there they go, all the fluff that just builds up, and I think it's that cooks the motors. We can, well, I can, you can't, rotate the motor, and I'm looking through there into the armature to check that it all looks fine, and it does. So we're probably going to reuse their original motor. Obviously the housing that it was attached to is scrap, so we can slide that off, and that can go in the rubbish pile, and then I can do it all over again, except we'll keep this base plate. Indeed, I'm going to have to get all of the fluff out that happens on these wobbly base plates. And yeah, strip it all down, but keep that, give the plastic a quick wash, and then we'll come back and put it all together. I've got these bits all cleaned up and ready to go, so we can get this assembled. The spares head that I had wasn't actually broken at all, it just only had one of these cogs on it. So yeah, the other end was just spinning like it had no choice to. So yeah, we're going to get this together. We need some oil. Because what I'm going to do is get a little knife and remove the cover on the bearing. It shouldn't be too difficult. There we go. And then you can see the inside of the little bearing in the cog box. It's very clean and nice. So all I'm going to do is just drip a load of fresh 3-in-1 oil. You can use grease, I use oil. You can get these spinning from being very rusty and grotty sometimes as well, but that's why I like to keep at least a spare one of these, because yeah, they snap this clean off sometimes. That's pretty much what I thought had happened, but they also get full of hair and yuck. And yeah, this is what you do to keep it spinning very nicely. So now that that's done, like so, we can take our housing, and it only goes in one way. There we go, that side. Oh, it's not straight. On. With this tapped in, I figured out that the flat side goes the motor side, so that it all aligns up with the belt. So that can go on there. Then I sort of forgot where this went. It went like that. So there is that spring piece there. Then the belt should just slip over like that. So there we go. I'm going to stick just a little drip on the back just in case that helps. But that's now a lot smoother and nicer. We need to take our centre wheel and just sort of precariously balance it in there. Another nice drip of oil, because it's when this wheel seizes up and then just scrubs itself off that the damage happens. And then in theory you can align everything up and clip this housing together. There we go, it's this front bearing. yeah, clip the housing together and do up all the screws. And there is our rebuilt cog box. It's pretty much the same on the Mark II as well. It is different, but the principle of take the box apart, this part is pretty much the same. Yeah, it should rotate nice and freely through there. It is all cleaned out and nice. There we go, look, Johnston motor, 60 hours of rated runtime. What fun. Right, I can't do much else in this frame because other stuff is drying. So let's come back and we can put the whole thing back together and finish the job. And before long, we have a nice row of cleaned up parts. It's definitely worth going the extra few steps and getting at least this bit and this bit washed and degunked before you put it back together. But then we have to do some reassembly. So this is the loom that goes around this head. It will roll that way, and annoyingly this plug just barely fits through this plastic. There we go. Oh, do I have to push it from the other side? I think I do, but it goes. There we go. So that will sit there, and then that's the bit that plugs in and pivots with the head. So we need to put it through the other side. Oh, fit in there. Being careful to not break the cables, although we have a spare, I guess. And there is the very first piece of our puzzle. Do that first, because if you forget to do that and put the whole rest of the head back together, you do have a tendency to scream. So yeah, we won't do that. We shall clip the motor back into the frame. Oh yeah, then we've got two screws. I haven't got the screws ready. They're the shorter of these silver T25s. So they can go in, and then this whole plastic part will just finagle, manhandle, however you want to, into the head and sit pretty much like it's trying to do now. There we go. It does have to click down though, otherwise it doesn't go into place. And yeah, we'll screw all that down and carry on. The motor is tweaked down and fully seated into position. This top bit can't poke up, but it's still not held into the head. For that, we're going to need to refit, not even that part and this part. So I guess before we do that, we should plug our motor back in and make sure that the wiring is clipped into where it wants to go. There we go, perfect. Oh, there is this piece as well, which went underneath, so that's the bottom cover, but again it doesn't screw itself in. This top bit seems to do pretty much everything. So that sits on there, then this sits down here and goes back through all of the plastics, and then yeah, we'll put our 3 screws in the bottom, our 2 screws in on the side, and I might even at that point sneak the cogs onto the motor. And our head is looking very head-like. There's just one more thing that I want to do. We're going to undo the big screw on the end of each of these brush roll end caps. And then you do have to be careful to not snap the inner bit, but you've effectively just got to pull, push, pry, wiggle, and eventually, it is coming, eventually, there you go, you can pull the whole end cap off the brush roll, and that not only lets you get all of the gunk out that will be underneath it. You can see it's all moulded itself around there, but you can then come to the back of this bearing and very gently, you don't have to take it out, but you can take off the cap, and just like with the cog box on the rest of the head, again you could use light grease. I'm just going to use some oil because it's going to make it spin better than it did before. And I'm going to put quite a lot in here because this is going to see quite a bit of wear. And yeah, pop that back in there, push this back on here. Oh, and that literally just started spinning better in my hand. It's quite important on this era head and the DC40 Mk2 because when this all jams up, the brush roll will keep rotating and it will cause a lot of damage to everything. So yeah, another little tweak. We're pretty much ready now to put the brush rolls back in, put the base plate on, and we'll come back and we're ready to test that it still works. This, I have just airlined out, wiped off, new filled back, a washed, very washed top filter, and an airlined out lower one because it hadn't actually gone too far through the machine. Oh, I know I had the red clip somewhere. So I'll pop the head on, pop the red, oh no, that's backwards. There we go. Pop that into there, drop the flex, and we'll see if it runs any better now. Oh, yeah, right, look at the head. Yeah! That works. Oh, there we go. I had it on just off the edge of the carpet and it wasn't going up properly. Oh, this is the next problem. I thought we had this pretty centralised. We do. Why are you not? I think it's just a bit worn. Click. Click. The cog is fully aligned. I think I'm going to call that good, and then if they don't find it good, I'll come and tweak it for them. Oh yeah, bin by itself empty because it's missing the bottom bit from there. If I've got one actually, let's have a look. So we can empty it using, gently using the flap, and yeah, that's just picked up a fair bit of grot slash. I think some of that came from it already. So yeah, all in all, not bad. A good light service. It certainly has airflow now, and the head is working. Have you ever had one of these Mark 1 Dyson DC40s? If so, what did you think of it? I have to say, although they're okay, there's nothing wrong with them, I think I prefer the Mark 2. The head is just a lot better than this head. Otherwise, they're exactly the same machine, which is hilarious fun. So, another e-waste Dyson saved, at least for another couple of years, and yeah, ready to go back to its owner. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I and some other disastrous Dyson will see you soon. Bye bye.